It's your wife, sweetie. You're dead now. It's time to go. Leave the Venture family alone, honey.
The Venture Brothers. What would have happened if Johnny Quest gave up on his potential and the world gave up right along with him? Posed through a lens that pulls from a variety of life and fiction while also being a deconstruction of all things cult, pulp, and classic. Old-time crime fighters, iconic adventure stories lost and recycled by time, and of course a knack and appreciation for the subversive that's always safe at a place like Adult Swim.
Kiss me, Dr. Venture. Kiss me.
If you like the Hardy Boys, Knight Rider, Boomerang, or The Boys, you might have a thing for Venture. And if you love Rick and Morty but haven't spent any time with this show, then here's your opportunity to stop missing out. What would become known as the Venture Brothers starts in the early 2000s and goes all the way to the early 2020s with a movie that caps off the series where an 8th season would have been. 7 seasons plus a movie to wrap it up is quite the feat and worth respect. That's some Phineas and Ferb shit with none of Phineas and Ferb's coverage. In a world where many people's dreams never even make it off the ground, and when they do, they crash and burn. Girlfriends spend seasons building its world and plot points, and then it just gets canceled. The actual meat of the story goes nowhere. Years of progress never gets resolved, leaving fans emaciated to this day.
So no closure. Like
We really
had
ended
no,
on
there was no, we had no party.
Nothing. It was literally, we actually didn't even know, really.
Yeah,
we just sort
just
of, and then it
disintegrated.
just kind
got a
of went
phone
into
call.
the abyss.
Like, it's over.
Venture doesn't have that story. From the minds of Jackson Public and Doc Hammer, don't let the show's title fool you. While the Venture Brothers may suggest that the show is about twins Hank and Dean, it's actually about their father, Thaddeus Venture, the heir to a super inventing empire and the son of a globe-trotting treasure hunter who built wonders of the world.
Meet your new boss, Dr. Jonas Venture, famed inventor, philanthropist, and globe-trotting adventurer.
The show was initially conceived as a line of comics, but once Public began constructing his baby, it got too big for the pages and he never looked back, leading to the cult classic that we have today. Fans of Venture love the show. It's a gem preserved by literacy and little to no promotion, and here in our year 2025, some of it ages like flesh, while some of it ages like cheese, both of which having a relative odor. Let's talk about season 1.
Okay, ketamine, kidney. No cure. Transplant from a healthy donor of the same blood type. Of course! One of the boys. Where the hell are the boys? Boys, hello. Hank, are you there? Dave.
Thaddeus Rusty Venture is all the slum and failure of Rick Sanchez, with none of the self-aware edge that excuses Rick and only half of the inventing acumen or worldly fervor that characterized Jonas Venture, Rusty's father. To make it simple, Jonas is an alternate reality Thomas Wayne who doesn't die in that alley and takes the baby. Or he's what would happen if Flashpoint Tom just didn't have the drinking problem. There's a lot of different places you could go with that, but from what I've actually seen, he's just Super Science Stan Smith, an adrenaline junkie high achiever who isn't above exploiting his children. Maybe he loves his offspring somewhere, but the lack of that love impacts their children's lives much more. Thaddeus is the byproduct of his massive potential being left to stagnation by way of neglect. Jonas, like a lot of bad parents, had his own life to lead, and as a result, Rusty's a genius but not a particularly smart one and spends all of his time either chasing his desires or doing whatever it takes to keep the lights on. Thaddeus is a walking missed opportunity. For every invention that suggests greater intellect, there lies a mistake that will make you wonder how Thaddeus hasn't killed himself. He's smart enough to turn his childhood robot companion into an iron kidney when it's called for, but still needs a medical dictionary to tell him that transplants are how you replace said kidneys. And even though Doc Venture isn't a real doctor, that won't stop him from questioning the credentials of others. Projection is a bitch.
For instance, you're not actually a doctor of anything. You never finished school.
What's Mexican for doctor?
Doctor.
And mine is to perceive and control the delicate arrangement of the cosmos.
They give out PhDs for that?
Junior college upstate, communications major, minor in women's studies.
The world of Venture is almost as cynical as Thaddeus's life. This is a world post-Wonder that's watched all of its promise decay, leaving nothing but a checkerboard for the rich and powerful. In the Venture timeline, Walt Disney is a Nazi-esque madman who is slowly dying in his own body, while elsewhere, leaders in their fields and geniuses of all kinds are content with game playing, like the Harley Quinn to Rusty's Joker, Dr. Girlfriend, who could have the game on Smash, but chooses chooses to play the background. The entire show even is about the son of one of the world's brightest minds spending most of his time self-loathing and chasing a dwindling bag. In this vacuum of altruism and ambition, those with the motivation prosper. And what stays more motivated than evil? Villains run amok in Venture with seemingly little consequence on account of the Guild of Calamitous Intent, an organization of villains that serves as an evildoers union. These guys make sure that all necessary protocols being followed to code, and if need be, they step in on the behalf of villains everywhere. Like when they pull a full-scale frame job on Rusty's nemesis the Monarch, all to capture a prosecutor who specializes in putting away supervillains.
Finally, number 3 on the Guild's most wanted list. Tiny Attorney.
So, because of how this video is going to work, I'm going to spoil the shit out of season 1. But the purpose of this video is for the people who have seen it to feel me, and for the people who haven't seen it to watch season 1 and the rest of the show so they can follow along. The summaries of past events will get shorter and shorter as we go on, and by season 4, you shouldn't need a recap. So go do your homework.
You did your homework on the Bippers?
The only reason that Rusty hasn't offed himself or been killed by a fellow crazy person is his OSI-issued bodyguard, Brock Sampson, a half-Swedish, quarter-Indian pseudo-superhuman that keeps an eye on the Ventures and does all of the physical labor, be that moving cargo, wrestling the gators, or killing the enemies whenever summoned.
Brock, come in,
Brock is a lone sliver of legitimacy that still allows for that Venture name to ring out of action and not nostalgia. Sure, Rusty has let his legacy and greatness atrophy a great deal, but nothing screams son of a super genius like having homicidal Sweden at your beck and call. He makes sure to keep the Venture compound protected during its dangerous yard sales. He's great under pressure and in captivity, and before Orpheus shows up, he's the only adult that Thaddeus' sons have to interact with that doesn't hate them.
Dean, I'm going to turn around now, and you better be on fire. What is your status, topside?
Yeah, it's fine. Boys are finally asleep. Think Dean might have a bladder infection or something. He had to get up and pee like 5 times.
Thaddeus holds Hank and Dean with absolute contempt because they are nothing like the delusional version of himself he holds in his head and are more like the Rusty that he's always been, the one who deep down just wanted to play with cowboys and isn't apparently great at much. Dean and Hank are all of their father's foolishness with maybe a quarter of his wit and charm, so if blatant neglect from Jonas Venture led to Rusty, what do you imagine willing neglect and barely concealed loathing is gonna mean for Hank and Dean? It typically means that Thaddeus snaps on them for sport, that he sometimes forgets their names, and the only reason they are around is because they are more useful than not, like for kidneys and stuff. Dean and Hank are the type of kids whose father is smart enough to create anything, including new and inventive ways to not parent his kids.
Which reminds me, shouldn't you boys be in school right now?
We don't go to school. We have a bed that teaches us everything.
We really do have beds equipped with audio-suggestive learning aids.
Dabbling in super science, huh?
Hank Venture is the blonde, would-be athlete of the two, while Dean is the autistic nerd type. If Fred Jones and Steve Smith never got out of the house and lived on the edge of death and adventure, they would be Hank and Dean. Propelled by their life of sci-fi phenomenon, the twins meet every event of their lives like a square on a storyboard, often having to be brought down to earth by the reality. Not that that's always possible.
Big deal. You see dead guys all the time. When? Dude, just last week, Brock killed 2 dervishes with a pillowcase full of cokes, right in our bedroom.
You just knocked them out.
Yo, sing yourself another lullaby, baby Dean. The police took them away in body bags.
Sleeping bags! Those were sleeping bags!
Without their nanny, Dean and Hank would be lost out here, but with time and attention, they aren't the worst wards to have by your side. Hank is eager and willing enough to be walked through non-lethal combat.
After the twist, you'll feel a snap and the body goes ragdoll on you.
And that will knock him out? Even more?
That will kill him.
Do I have to?
While Dean is squeamish enough to always know when he's out of his depth, something his brother isn't the best at.
I'm thinking we bust out the hover bikes, load them up with like hand grenades and plasma cannons.
No, Hank,
Hear me out, Dino. You're a smart kid and all, but you're not a wartime consigliere.
Hank, we're not grown up enough to rescue Dad and Brock by ourselves. We need help!
What about the ant people?
Most adventures consist of Rusty getting the fam in a jam, leaving Brock to unjam shit while Dean and Hank cheer on.
Go Team Venture!
The boys are resourceful and good in a pinch, but their childish enthusiasm makes their attention spans unreliable, to say the least.
Brock! I think I figured out why the plane crashed! There were skeletons driving it!
That's, Nice work, Dean.
So you have Thaddeus Venture, a wonderkin who never lived up to his prestige, Brock Sampson, a bodyguard so good at his job that he was assigned to babysitting Rusty all day, and Hank and Dean Venture, two young lads born and bred for the kinds of adventure their father consistently lives right outside of. Three parties that live and die by just how pitiful their lives actually are. Yeah, Rusty's life isn't the worst with his billion-dollar compound and his legendary name, but he has no comparable social life and looks like shit. Brock Sampson is the stuff of legend.
Sir, can I have your autograph?
Who's that?
Brock Sampson.
No way!
But all that legend rewards him is the opportunity to do what Rusty says all day, and Hank and Dean, starved for action and opportunity, waste away coping and making up games to play because their father won't properly usher them into their Olympus, just like his father didn't do. Each of these characters have so much going for them but live lackluster existences with little way of escaping or the motivation to do so, which begs the question of what the hell happened. What happened to the once great Jonas Venture that his lone son is out here incompetent, hateful, and sad? Is this truly the best that Brock Sampson could be doing with his time? And why have Hank and Dean been dealt such a rough and neglectful hand? Much like in life, in the Venture Brothers, when you peer out and see a world of promise that has matured into mediocrity, the blame is often because someone failed. Somewhere along the way, someone fucked up really bad, and the ones who have to pay for these mistakes rarely have anything to do with the causes. The reason why all the characters wallow in a mixture of misfortune and self-pity is because of repeated failure that compounds into more, and through every missed opportunity and dream deferred, you're left with a tenet of the Venture narrative that looks can be deceiving because failure is a process. I haven't watched Hoarders in a very long time, but hoarding is just a small piece of the mental illness that runs in my family. So I know that when you walk into someone's house and they're keeping trash, the actual crisis occurred 15 years earlier. You don't wake up one day and decide to be Thaddeus. That's something that happens to you. Rusty joins his former professor's think tank just to hate.
Oh, okay already. Great. Wow, you invented thermal underwear. Whoop-de-freaking do.
It's like wearing nothing at all. Like a second skin.
You've got a little something brown on your nose.
Even though Richard Impossible did Rusty a solid by not failing him way back when.
Didn't he flunk you too?
Squeak by with the sympathy, D. My dad died that semester.
The hating is one thing, but getting fresh with his wife and then freaking out when things get sci-fi with Rusty's lifestyle is bogus.
Please, please, Dr. Venture.
Get that away from... Oh, God. Help me. Billy. White. She's a succubus.
And then facing the consequences of his actions and being thrown out by the freaky chick's husband doesn't do shit for Rusty. It doesn't make him take anything any more seriously.
Come to me, Dr. Venture. Take me, you magnificent beast. I know how to keep you warm.
There's a level of pitiful that Rusty stoops to consistently that only feels like stooping on his part because of where he comes from. But because of who he is, it's where he belongs. The Venture name owns islands and boats, rivals big and small, but Rusty can't even see through his arch nemesis Shigo despite her manly ass voice.
Do you have any condoms?
Wherever you see drama or sorrow in the Venture Brothers, you are bearing witness to a story and picking up on a pattern of the characters' lives. Underneath the promise for wonder in Rusty's future is a boy left to his own devices for years of his upbringing, who is now a man capable of using an orphan's heart to power a pole-pulling machine, but isn't capable of realizing why he shouldn't do something like that.
Are you mad? It draws its power from a haunted orphan heart!
All right, keep it down.
It's not a wonder as to why Thaddeus doesn't care about human life because his father so clearly didn't care about his own child. So much so that Rusty taunts himself with ghost of his father whenever the memories won't do.
It's clear you're a traumatic hallucination made manifest by my hitting my... ego.
Brock Sampson isn't just a physical specimen with an autistic knack for violence, but he's also a danger to himself and others on account of his temper. He was once Rusty's college roommate until he gets expelled for accidentally killing someone, forever changing the trajectory of his life, whatever that trajectory was to begin with. You get the sense that Brock has lived quite the career up to the start of the show, so when the Joy-Can traps Sampson in an endless fantasy and it's mostly wanton violence, it's a shame he doesn't want more for himself when he can have anything he desires. I got chills listening to him describe the human neck to Hank because he details the body like a game of Bop It.
That tube you feel is your trachea. Think of it as a handle. Your thumb is on your carotid artery. That's your button. Now remember, grab the handle, push the button. Repeat that back.
Grab the handle.
Let go of your own throat, Hank.
He evidently is a man who's made a living ripping people limb from limb and can't even come if he doesn't have his license to kill.
I can't do this!
First impressions of Brock could have one believing he's a hot commodity until you realize that, like Rusty, everything Brock could have been adds depressing context to what he is. What would a legend of the Secret Service be if he didn't need nepotism to pass the exams?
My father is General Traster. You saved his life. The man spoke of you as a god. And you did not disappoint.
Oh, yeah. I used to babysit you.
Part of the Venture experience is always feeling that lost future and present pain. Rusty's life is shit for the same reason that he traps himself at the bottom of the Bermuda Triangle, because he's prone to getting in over his head when he has an agenda. And not only is he hasty, but he's incompetent where it counts and highly competent where it doesn't. He devises an underwater locator that's so powerful it can wake the dead, but he doesn't know to properly learn how to deep sea dive before committing to one.
The super bad idea, Doc. You've never taken a night dive before, or any dive, and
as you observe Rusty's peers and some of his inventions, you'll notice that Rusty could be a force to be reckoned with if he applied himself, making his ineffectiveness that much starker. When hooked up to a polygraph on some truth serum, Rusty's whole identity gives way to a feminine southern drawl. And while the moment is humorous, I was more intrigued to see such a formidable defense of his secrets. At the end of the day, the info being hunted wasn't obtained, even though Rusty was vulnerable. Thaddeus could otherwise be characterized by his lack of chutzpah. His villains walk right onto his property, but when his real value, his mind, is in jeopardy, the old man isn't without his defenses.
State your name.
Reading from top to bottom. Lisa. Carol. Fremont.
He's telling the truth.
There's one person who, for better or worse, sees Rusty for more than he can see himself. A villain who, through action and obsession alone, pays near endless respect to the Venture name. And that person is the Monarch.
For my next witness, I would like to call to the stand the Monarch!
They're so gonna fry this idiot.
The Monarch is the type of kooky, possibly cracked out villain that every good and evil struggle needs. He's self-motivated, an excellent ambassador of his own brand, and through his inheritance money, he amasses a large network of butterfly-themed villainy. If it's a regular day of the week, you can count on the Monarch plotting on Rusty, and if the plan isn't for today, it's for the near future.
Nope, sorry, wasn't me. I've got something planned for next week, I think. But no.
Season 1 won't spend too much time on why the Monarch chooses to harp on the Venture name, but from what we can see, we understand that as a villain to the mediocre Venture, Monarch never has to try and always has someone to play ball with. In that way, he strikes an interesting parallel with Rusty. They're both super genius man-children lost in their comfort zones, accompanied by sidekicks far out of their league. But unlike Brock Sampson, who seems content with his place in life, throughout Season 1 we get the inkling that Dr. Girlfriend, the Monarch's right arm, isn't as keen on settling.
A lot has changed. I was meaning to talk to you about things, us.
We learn shit about GF this early, but it doesn't take an origin story to see how much better she is than the Monarch. That's part of what makes their relationship such an item. Monarch is batshit insane, and GF is okay with that. Might even get naked for that. But not even their love can keep her from slowly but surely recognizing that she's wasting her time and talents. Dr. Girlfriend is very good at what she does. Villains big and small wonder what the fuck she's doing with the Monarch.
Billy, check out that honeypot over there. That's the kind of arch enemy we need.
That's Dr. Girlfriend. She kicks with that wash-up who thinks it's cool to wear butterfly wings. You know, what's his name?
And because Team Venture and the Butterfly don't aspire to much past self-indulgence, witnessing a character above all of this villain of the week shit is a welcome contrast, and it all comes to a head during the trial of the Monarch, wherein lies the fumbling of a baddie so devious it might warp your very soul.
But if you are after mere parlor tricks, you will be sorely disappointed. For if I reach behind your ear, it will not be a nickel I pull out,
but your very soul!
The Monarch has allegedly killed a police officer, forcing tension on the delicate balance that law enforcement and the Guild of Calamitous Intent have worked diligently to maintain.
The only way the police would get involved is if the guild screwed with them first.
So when the Monarch messed with the police, he messed with
the guild.
I was gonna say that.
Part of why wanton villainy is just another part of the venture world is because all of the police have been paid off by the Illuminati. Essentially, when a tell-all expose written by his henchman drives a rift between the Ark and his mate, it pushes girlfriend to her ex Phantom Limb, a cyborg named after the sensation that amputees feel for their lost limbs. It's as creative as it is insensitive, and what the fuck do y'all know about the Phantom and Shade the Changing Man? Limb and GF used to run the gambit back in the day in her Queen Etheria lifetime. The Monarch follows girlfriend to Limb's home, and he does what any man would do upon witnessing his best eater clad in some fucking saran wrap.
Him! Holy crap, what are you wearing? Do you believe you're falling for that floating, smooth-talking jackass? I can't even look at you in that slutty suit!
Go to hell!
Fine!
He makes shit worse, and more than anywhere else, you start to wonder why the fuck girlfriend would put up with this tripe. It is at this point that the guild moves in, incapacitating the Monarch and then paying the dead cop to disappear. So at the trial, Monty's on stand for something he definitely would have done, but simply didn't do this time. And when the episode ends, we're still left with plenty questions. What is Phantom Limb's ultimate goal? What is the Missis's plan, if not with the Monarch, and how important was Tiny Attorney in all of this? The half-fetus specializes in prosecuting supervillains, so it tracks as to why he's a guild target. But was the guild waiting for the Monarch, or were Monty and GF at the right time in the right place? Questions I'm sure we'll get the answers to in due time.
Finally, number 3 on the guild's most wanted list. Tiny Attorney.
After spending so much time with Rusty and his lackluster existence in Phantom Limb and Dr. Girlfriend, we finally perceive characters with goals and aspirations for more. And unlike their peers, Limb and Girlfriend are actually capable of getting what they're after, making their machinations that much more unsettling. You can't help but brace yourself when some real players enter a game of the middling and the mediocre. And by the time of the Monarch's trial, it's overstood that the guild does not come to play, and by extension, neither does anyone who's associated.
We gotta warn Pop!
No, Dean, this is guild business. Your father isn't in any harm. Guild works clean, professional. It's surgical.
On the other side of Rusty, Monarch, and Brock's acceptance of relative defeat exists this promised land of people who actually want more for themselves, not just the villains. Hank and Dean are a bit sheltered and put upon, but their thirst for adventure gives them edge and pushes them to overcome and learn. Falling short can't stop shit when you have that mindset. Dr. Orpheus, the single father necromancer that lives on Rusty's compound, is just as, if not more, ostentatious, obsessed, and off-putting as Rust and the Butterfly. But the central mechanic to his whole game is that he tries. Orpheus, every time he's on the screen, is in constant motion, constantly striving for better, and so far is never out of character. Even when he's on his psychotic necromantic rants, they're motivated by the same internal engines that burn with love for his daughter, Triana.
Greetings, Pumpkin. I am at Mr. Venture's lab to right that which is wrong and to repair the torn curtain of time itself. There are 4 puddings in the fridge. You may enjoy the contents of one of them. Dinner at 6. Come, my friend, let us close your door on the spirit world forever!
Triana is so taken care of that we never see her character flaws once during season 1. Despite her dad being a crackpot, she's level-headed. That's a sign of good parenting. You can be on whatever magic mumbo-jumbo dream chaser bullshit you want to be on, if you take care of business. Everything about Orpheus contextualizes just how deplorable Rusty truly is. Unlike Rust, Orpheus is an actual doctor. He loves his child and is good at his job, and he doesn't have to be perfect to do any of it. Orpheus is so humble that he knows how to apologize to his ain't shit landlord over his stolen property. A true class act.
So it's just the weed whacker then?
Do you have amnesia? I loaned this utilitarian object to you a month ago. I purchased this weed whacker for the singular design of grooming my lawn.
All right, keep it. Just take it down a notch.
Sorry, You said you would return it. I get like that.
Rusty can't even fall back on his lifestyle and upbringing, because if a mage who communes with the dead and clearly suffers a bit for it can wake up every day and try their best, then what excuse would Johnny Quest ever have? Okay, nigga, so you were neglected by your father. Your father was Jonas Venture, though. People be getting molested and abused by their actual present fathers, but Rusty couldn't handle a little neglect from Tony Stark. Maybe that flew for college-age Rusty, but at his big, grown-ass age, these sorrows, pains, and dreams deferred rest on his shoulders and no one else's. And unlike most deadbeats of the spirit who get to live out their lives never really knowing how repugnant they are, Rusty is not gonna get away scot-free with his crime of grand ambivalence. This is a man who was handed the world on a platter, but uses every excuse his genius brain can think of to avoid accountability until his own body and bloodline turn on him, manifesting a specter of everything Rusty never has been but always could have. Meet Jonas Jr., the long-lost brother to Thaddeus Venture, and in his mind, the true heir to the Venture throne.
On here, mister.
Consider these bits of crap I've stolen the first small installments of what you owe me, Rusty.
Since birth, Jonas Jr. has been residing in Rusty's body, sustaining himself off of Thaddeus's life force. And while the whole thing is inspired by the very real phenomenon of fetus in fetu, this is the Venture brothers, so you know shit had to get wonky. Throughout season 1, we can tell that something is not medically right with Rusty. He hallucinates and disassociates, he has to take pills to regulate his nervous system, and it's probably chronic brain fog that leads to his life being so unfulfilling. Jonas spends his time as a fetus watching and experiencing everything Rusty fails to be. So who's to say it wasn't JJ's own resentment towards his brother turned tomb that propels Thaddeus's self-loathing? And being the egotist that he is, Rusty hurries to start blaming JJ for any of his other ailments too.
You stole my hair!
Jonas is vengeful out of the womb as he laments how much better he is than the one who's had the body this whole time. After Jonas is removed from his brother as a tumor, he hijacks the X1, flies back to the compound, and cobbles together a body out of whatever he could find. We spend a season watching Rusty take everything he has for granted, even down to selling his sci-fi shit, selling his legacy, effectively. And in less than an episode, Jonas Jr. begins building himself up from the very surroundings that Thaddeus squanders.
God, look at this place. It's like a museum of failure.
Is that my oven? And that bit there, that's the capacitator from my robot. Just what is going on here, mister?
Consider these bits of crap I've stolen the first small installments of what you owe me, Rusty.
It's hard to imagine it worse for someone like Rusty, especially in his mind. His bodyguard barely cares for the work that pays his bills. His sons are happy and carefree, so his neglect doesn't ruin them all the way like it did to himself. And the only person who wants any of Rusty's attention is someone with even less to do. And to top it all off, his brother has emerged out of his own mortal shell with a lust for life that Rusty can't imagine. Junior is just as entitled as Rusty, but only for what belongs to him. And even with a life non-existent, he knows to bring his problems only to the person who caused them. Unlike Rusty, who has a habit of making his issues everyone else's.
I think you owe me something for 43 years of hell.
Fine, whenever, I'll give you the old Venture compound on Spider Skull Island.
Rusty can't even blame the world because he's surrounded by competence and inspirations to greatness, if only he saw them as such. Brock's discipline, Monarch's fervor, and the lives of his healthy, breathing sons should make Dr. Venture more of a man, but instead, in a sole stroke of genius, Rusty cements his loser spirit, and even worse, does it at the expense of his offspring.
All right, get their clothes.
In the first episode of season 2, which we are spoiling because it's important, it is revealed that Hank and Dean are clones, simultaneously explaining the contempt he has for his boys and elevating it from a bit toxic to absolutely heinous. The thing about clones is that it's all matter replication and none of the intangible, none of the spirit, and none of the soul. A human life is so precious that it's the one thing more irreplaceable than time. Your twin sibling is not you. Your parents are not you. Even the person you were a month ago is different and explicitly not the person you are now. And no amount of cloud saving can bring a real person back, no matter how close to the real thing we get. On some Black Mirror shit. That means that all of those mutants on Krakoa are rebooted zombie homunculi who live with the memories of the souls that built their shell. Hank and Dean are dead. They're dead and died a long time ago. So whatever we are dealing with now is just the unsynced save data their father makes do with. And even after all that, Yes, clones are the closest you will ever get to a resurrection of sorts. The twist suddenly explains all the oddities to Hank and Dean that up until the reveal you have to chalk up to bad child rearing. The boys have no agency, no life outside of taking up space in Rusty's, and because he could have kept them dead, every time he forgets one of their names or lashes out at one of them, the whole thing becomes slightly masturbatory because Thaddeus is the architect of everything the boys are. He controls what they do and don't learn by way of the cloning process and their beds. If he's so goddamn tired of them, he could have just made changes 15 times over. In the episode The Incredible Mr. Brisby, Roy Brisby presses Rusty for some old cloning secrets that used to belong to his father. And before the reveal, you have no clue if the tech exists or not. We just know that Thaddeus is denying shit. The reveal gives the episode a completely different coat. Roy isn't pressing Thaddeus for something nonsensical. He in fact has every reason to speculate. How many times have people seen Hank and Dean and haven't seen them age? It's not like Thaddeus would keep an eye on that type of thing. He sometimes forgets their names.
Boys, hello. Hank, are you there? Dave.
Doesn't your dad have a nickname for you?
Well, I've heard him call me Dave or Don a few times, but I don't think they're nicknames. Hey, are you a pirate?
And why wouldn't he when he can make forever copies of his kids to just re-neglect? The cloning explains why Rusty doesn't try shit, because after mastering life and death, how could he? Life as a concept has probably grown stale to Rust, because death means nothing now. Do you know how unmotivated the human race can be? If it wasn't for the call of the Reaper, most of us would atrophy on some Wall-E shit, no future pampering needed. There's someone out there today who's gonna die with unfulfilled dreams, and someone else out there who hates change so much they stick to a routine that kills them. And that's mortals with a once-in-a-lifetime life. Cloning, immortality, and all brands of easy modes just lead to criminal ambivalence.
Big man!
The cloning revelation leaves the world of Venture bleak as fuck. The future was a lie because the present wasn't prioritized, and now the past is just hanging around because the living don't want to accept death. If our best and brightest minds are depressed and sacrifice orphans, that leaves little hope for the world, which as always is at the mercy of people who are willing to bleed and kill for their piece of the pie. In a world full of Rusties, the Dr. Girlfriends of the world reign supreme, and with goodness in a death spiral, the world hangs in the balance. That's why despite Thaddeus being bred for altruism, he's just as bad as a guild member. Why would he try when all his dad did was try, and it left him spiritually emaciated? Why try when your murder machine who was assigned to you can solve all your problems? And why raise your sons when you could just renew their life membership whenever it expires? Never mind the once-in-a-lifetime miracle of birth and life.
Slow down. What about the zombies?
Now I call those clone slugs. Grew those years ago from nail clippings, I think. Anyway, after the slugs have been activated, that machine...
Purgatory.
Whatever. That computer feeds all their nocturnally recorded memory synapses.
Their memories, hopes, and dreams. Their immortal soul!
You're killing me with that crap. Just let me finish.
I have no idea what Seasons Beyond have in store for me, but I can only imagine. Rusty and the Monarch need some very rude awakenings. Dean and Hank deserve much better, and the world better watch out for the guild, as it seems. And so that is season 1 of The Venture Brothers, the story of a supervillain so lost and depressed by the life he never claimed that he lets his current one waste away, filling his days with impulse control and meaningless distractions. You might be content to let your potential decay, but don't expect the world to sit with you forever. At some point you are to blame for everything you never tried, and life goes to those who are willing to take it for a cause, even if it's their own. I hope Rusty's ready, cause it's about to get real wonky for the Ventures, and you can count on me to bring you the same form I just did this time for the following seasons. Can't wait for that feature film. I love a movie that caps off a series. Be sure to bring that ass right back here, and until next time, it's been cool. Peace.
Ballerinas doing pirouettes inside of my snow globe. Shopping sprees in Soho, you had to see it. Strippers shaking ass and watching the dough blow. Ace trumpets and rose modes. Yellow diamonds look like PP.